Okay, guys. Attention, s'il vous plaît. Attention. You're sitting in with your warrant. That's of course music. Yes, thank you for coming. First of all, welcome my friends from out of town and family. Brother Benny and his wife Leonie somewhere. And Brother Guy and Jacinthe. And they came at 11 o'clock, and Benny and his wife were busy working and dusting this thing. I thought I dusted everything, and they were going around the house, cleaning, and I forget things, blah, blah, blah. Pam and Bill from Prince George, old friends, teacher friends, and friends of ours, used to take a little girl and go around with a little horsey around town and bring her from her school to our home and so on. I don't think Don Taylor made it, and I didn't hear about John Baker. He said he'd be here, but who knows. Okay, so what we're going to do...
Don't be shy, there's more seats up here. You guys want to line up close to all the action, right?
There's the chairs all over here, guys. A lot of chairs.
And you can pull the chairs back if you are scared.
So, first part is about 10 people who wrote things about Alka who are not here. One is Viral, who was supposed to be here. He phoned me this morning. He's sick. Viral Patel, one of Alka's students and so on. So Nolan and I will take turns reading. So this is from Smita and Jag, good friends of Alka's. They've known each other many, many years. Okay, first of all, people are asking me about my shirt. It's got a very special meaning. It is a Russian shirt. My first Christmas present given by Alka when we met. And this is handmade little loop and picks. It takes days and days. Each individual thread is looped and inside from the days of teaching in my hometown of Plamondon. Farewell to a dear friend. Alka, Smita, and I, Jack, came to know you for almost 50 years. I met you through Carla, with whom I first got acquainted in the most unlikely of places, Fiji. And that was the early 70s. I migrated to Canada, and Carla returned to her home a couple of years later. Of course, knowing Carla meant, Carla's Alka's dear year apart sister they were very close to. Knowing Carla meant that we got to meet you and your entire family. And yes, your parents as well. But I met you for the first time at the most unlikely of occasions, skiing in the Rockies. I remember you as this most relaxed and competent skier who just floated down the mountain with such grace and ease, whereas I, a son of the tropics, struggled to keep myself upright on my new skis as I hurtled down the mountain in a totally contrasting picture of clumsiness. We lived a province apart, but we kept in touch throughout the time. I attended your wedding to close and followed your life, especially as your newborn son, Nolan, struggled with his early health complications and operations. But you took all of that in stride. During the early years, you and Claude also got to meet my new wife, Smita. Okay, not old, but now older. You moved to Igloolik and added an incredibly interesting chapter to your and Claude's lives. And, of course, Nolan's as well. The interesting long letters that you wrote describing your daily lives up there were riveting. Your writings did not read like a book. Rather, they sounded as if you were sitting right across our dinner table and speaking to us ever so enthusiastically. You kept a detailed record of life as it happened all around you. And even to this day, when we revisit these, it feels we are reliving those moments. We remember you as this funny, engaging, full of laughter, unassuming, friendly, and hospitable person that genuinely welcomed us to your home whenever we happened to stop by in Valemount. You and Claude honored us at the wedding of our older daughter, Monisha, who married Deepak. You and Claude, of course, are also involved us in that most lovely event in your life, the marriage of Nolan to Anastasia. Our younger daughter, Sajil, who remains quite uncommitted at this date, also interacts with Nolan and Anna periodically. So my first meeting with you has mushroomed over the years to the point that both our entire families remain in touch despite the physical distances of where we all live. That is the beautiful legacy that you have left us, and we thank you for it. We miss you, and you will always be remembered as a true and dear friend. Smita practiced medicine as a doctor in Surrey, and Jag used to worked as an engineer in Saskatoon.
the first computer programmer I met after Carla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, inspired me to learn Java.
Okay, no.
Who do I got?
You describe
Who was this?
Wait.
Braden.
He's
You remember Braden? He moved here to be the C something? Administrative officer? CFO? Something?
Financial officer.
Yeah, something at Belmont. And he lived downstairs. Starts off a little rough, but we decided to keep it all in there. Not long after I moved into TP Meadows' basement suite, the washing machine went in the Moose cabin. This happens often. This is why I come home. Instead of letting that short-term tenant go without laundry, it was Alka that let the person into my basement suite while I was at work at the village office. I remember being initially taken aback, my privacy broken. But as I thought about the situation, I knew I had a decision to make. I could push back on my new landlords, or I could take a chance and embrace the beautiful spirit of TP Meadows. I chose the latter, and I'm so glad that I did. By accepting that my basement suite was just an extension of the big house, I was saying yes to 2 years of my life walking in parallel with Alka and Claude, and all of the wonderful things that came with it. I didn't know it then, but I was saying yes too. Frequent knock on the basement door with an invitation for eggs and strong coffee. Watching Alka moose at the living room window. And Claude unsuccessfully hunting for them.
Okay, I don't shoot my own moose.
A 2+ hour drive home with Alka through a blizzard, followed by a late night steak at the Best Western, after getting Claude and his gear somewhat set up at the trap line. Alka's beautiful ability to hold me in conversation with one story after another at the top of the stairs. Alka's praise for encouragement to reach out to so many of her friends and acquaintances, so many of whom would also welcome me and have a profound impact on my life. The feeling of warmth, of belonging, of family, from living in and being part of love-filled home, instead of living by myself in a new community. When I left Belmont, I knew that there would be many things I would miss. However, one thing that I was unprepared for was how much I missed Alka and Claude in TP Meadows. Thankfully, they welcomed Heather and I back many times with open arms, a place to sleep, and Anna, who was living in Vancouver at the time. There's a missing sentence there. Claude, Nolan, while we can't be there with you this weekend, Alka's life, both of you, your friends, your family, and of course Alka, will always be in our hearts.
So this is not so long, okay. Gene Pozniak, another of Alka's close friends.
Also a computer programmer.
Oh, Nolan stayed his first year university in Edmonton. He stayed with Ed and
You
Gene
stay in the basement?
in Edmonton. These are some memories that I recall about Alka, all point form. Walking beside Alka and Carla was a challenge keeping up for my 5'2" stature. I walk quite fast on my travel treks, so I attribute that to them. Teaching us how to ski at Jasper was awesome, and especially fun when she took Ed on the steep knob run. He insisted that he was ready to try. Down on his butt he came down. Halloween parties in Plamondon were so much fun, and Alka made great costumes for Carla and herself, especially that frog costume, which made it very difficult for Carl to smoke. Was that part of the plan? Another memorable moment was when Alka took me in to see her prized chickens. One large, beautiful, angry bird took a dislike to my surprise visit, so I was out of there as quick as I could turn around. I always look forward to Alka's annual Christmas letters and thankful that she included us in the mailing list. Thank you, Alka and Carla and your family for enriching our lives. May you rest in peace. Annika, tell me.
Annika.
Who Annika
Some people
was?
might remember Annika was a German woofer who stayed with us for a while,
Like a year or two.
and then came back a few times after that. Lovely. When I think about TP Meadows, I see Alka in front of me. She has made this wonderful place what it is today. Her passion and energy is an inspiration to me. Through her, I learned to organize potluck parties. To celebrate adventure books and especially to enjoy the outdoors. During a power outage, she sat down with me at the kitchen table and we read Treasure Island to each other by candlelight. If it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't be able to speak a word of English today. In the summer, she opened all the windows and put the record player in front of the window so that we could hear The Gambler by Kenny Rogers while working outside. It felt like the music resounded throughout the whole valley. It was wonderful. I loved watching movies with her. She made me watch The Snow Walker at least 3 times. And yeah, I've seen that quite a few times the last 4 years.
Not as much as
Oh, and Dawn of Humanity.
Dawn of Humanity many times.
Alka is a woman who has had a lasting impact on my life. She will always remain in my memory and my heart, and I miss her dearly. And of course, congratulations to you as a grandfather. I'm sure you do an awesome job, and no child could be happier with having a better granddad. Aww.
Oh, thank you. Heather, her best friend, and Isuk.
Heather has a very chaotic writing style, and we tried to organize
I
it.
had to chop it. It was very long, and I chopped it up, trying to figure it out.
All copy paste and reorganizing.
We all 3 graduated high school in 1966. Alka and Carla took a time out and spent a year working at the Konditorei Rabin in West Berlin, which is a fancy chocolate cake. They used to work for the Geisers, the kings in Germany. We each of us live a life like a novel. Have you noticed? Alka Rabin started again in Germany. I'm written into Alka's life in the chapter that began when the Rabins, that's her last name, moved from Longwood to Souk. I am Heather, one of Oaks from Souk. We lived on Souk River Road when Rabins moved to Souk. I remember seeing the boxcar with their things on the siding beside Souk River Road. Then Alka and Carla showed up at Mills Landing High School. They were not only strangers, they were different. When my family moved in Souk, we were strangers too. I found it hard to get over my shyness and make friends. I was also not willing to hurry to the washroom to brush my hair and gossip. High school went on for 5 years back then, so I grew up a little every year. By the time Alka and Carla arrived, I was determined that they would have at least one person who made them feel welcome. The sisters were tall and slender, no stylish clothes, a little too old for the classes, no twigs in their hair, thanks to their parents' more sophisticated upbringing in Germany, but bush for sure. She got teased for not wearing shoes. And then guess what he did is grade 1 and so on, teachers used to phone so on, we cannot keep socks, shoes on your son. Can you please tell him to wear, no, you're in school, you're not outside. Can you please keep your shoes in school? High school went on for 5, okay. More sophisticated upbringing. Ruth's father was a diplomat and Hans went to school with people from the upper crust. Another person who shall remain nameless asked me if I would ever trust a German. My parents were over World War II. It didn't cross my mind that Germans might still be a problem in Canada today. To shorten my account, I will just say that my family overtures to Alka and Carla were some of the best moves I've made in my life. As Claude told us, Alka was in for ideas and adventures. Instead of hurrying to the washroom to brush our hair over lunch hour, Alka and Carla and I went home to the Rabins and yummy food and rich conversations with their mom, Ruth. Ruth had a PhD in geology in Germany. When Alka and Carla were in their 3rd year and I was 4th year, we rent an apartment together on Linden Avenue. The house was a fourplex. It was probably still standing, one of Victoria's heritage houses. It really was Alka who took on decorating and making the place a home for us. I remember Alka preparing to write an essay. She needed to burn off excess energy and nervousness. A lot of porridge and several Harlequin romances were consumed just before at the 11th hour. The writing began. Furious writing with the handwriting getting larger and larger, and there were only a few sentences on each page. As the tension and excitement grew, faithful Carla was on hand, ferrying bundles of handwritten script to the typist. Between them, the 3 of them got the essays written, typed, and handed on time for marking. Alka did make things happen and got the people around her moving. Carla and I benefited by being swept along in her wake. Alka didn't make me feel like a follower. She made me feel like a capable, responsible, valuable person. What a precious gift to a shy girl about to graduate into the adult world.
Who's this?
Leanna.
Leanna. We used to date for a while.
It's his ex-girlfriend, really.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, she stayed. Tell her what. Okay, she was in the court. She was in that college core outdoor program and stayed in a cabin for a year and a half.
yeah. And my parents used to fight about who hooked me up with my future. I mean, Dad hooked me up with Leanna, and Mom hooked me up with Anastasia.
Well,
Mom won that one.
they were both my first girlfriend. I mean, he owes it to me for finding this too.
Liana was answering your answering machine long time after.
Yeah. And it was a voicemail recording for a long time. I so wish I could be there to hear all of the Elka-themed memories and stories on the 17th. I worked that day and the days surrounding it, so it just isn't possible. That's not really related to Elka. Okay. When I moved to Belmont to take the NOAA program, I had the very good luck to end up renting a little cabin at Tippy Meadows. Alka, Claude, and Nolan welcomed me into their lives and instantly softened my first move from home. Alka was an absolute force to be reckoned with. And with her hennaed hair and gumboots, dinner bell and booming voice, I can still hear her gleeful chortles of laughter. She was my Easter Bunny and my Santa Claus. She spooked me with her threats about Krampus. Krampus?
Yeah, this is the guys that accompany St. Nicholas in Austria and Germany. They're very scary.
Oh, okay. And warmed me with mulled wine and vegetarian-friendly mushroom gravy. I spent more time than was wise staring into the furniture that she had varnished, pondering the insects that she had in fine tubes. Mom's painting style, right? Just like pour it on.
I did not standing before, and one thing we didn't agree on.
Their long kitchen table held such a treasure trove of toughness. My stories about exploding childhood birthday cakes and mishaps were met with delighted amusement and many demands of retelling. Her love and support of everyone around her was absolutely endless and inspiring. And when life came around and told me it was time to move along, I found it impossible to leave. I made it to the gas station before pulling a U-turn and heading back to Tippy Meadows, a blubbering mess. Alka scooped me up like a child, I was 18, and sat down in her porch rocking chair, holding me on her lap and let me cry. Amongst everything else, she was my rock. I am so sad that she is gone and the world is just a bit dimmer without her sparkle in it. I know that you are surrounded with love and support and probably are busy as heck. Sending my love and thoughts to you both as often as I can. Yeah.
These guys want to be pretty close, I guess.
Front row seat. It was good.
Ann Hansen was a pen pal. Alka and Carly joined the Girl Guides back in Longford. And she was a pen pal from Iqaluit, an Inuit little girl. And like I will speak on the slideshow too, but I can say now and so on. So it, yeah, well, I'll just read it and then I will, when the slides come up, you'll see her face and so on. And I will talk about Annie and so on. How I met my pen pal Alka. Many years ago in the early 1960s, we, the Inuit girls, joined what later became to be Girl Guides of Canada. We didn't know this because we hardly spoke any English. Our first language is Inuktitut, the Eskimo language. In her great wisdom, the Girl Guide leader started pen pal with other Girl Guides around the world. We had never traveled beyond our villages. I was told my pen pal was Alka. In my broken English language, writing, I wrote to her and she wrote back. This girl wanted to know what our village was like, how we lived, what we ate, what we wore, that sort of thing. Of course, in those days, anything coming in or going out of the Arctic communities took a long time. There were no regular airline schedules. As time went on, we became friends and rode back and forth over the years. One time, Alka said she and her family were in Hong Kong. I had to ask my teacher where this place was and was absolutely in awe how far it was. I wondered, how can this be? Alka sent pictures of her and her family. I could not send any pictures because we had no camera, let alone how to use it. As we grew up, we didn't write back and forth as often, but we still kept in touch by letters. Lo and behold, one time Alka wrote to say that she and her husband, Claude, were coming up to Frobisher Bay. I was beyond surprised. I could not believe it, meeting my lifelong pen pal at last. Alka and her husband Claude came down to our home in Apex, a little village outside of Iqaluit. We had so much fun catching up where we've been, what jobs we had, family and friends. We had so much in common after all. After finally meeting in person, we kept in touch more often. It was great news that Alka and her husband were to go to Iqaluit to teach. Another big surprise. Every year we've been exchanging Christmas cards, birthday cards, and more letters. I call Alka my long-distance friend for life. I was greatly saddened to hear that the news about Alka's passing from her husband Claude just recently. At the time, I was also in mourning after my husband Bob passing and after being married for 56 years, a double blow. Maybe they rest in peace, and thank you so much for a much richer life because I had known them for such a long time. Sincerely, a pen pal friend for life. And Nikitok Hansen, E7121. And the last week, before Alka passed away, she remembered her Inuit name, which were just numbers in those days. They weren't really people, so she was E7121. Annie went on to become the Northwest Territories commissioner. And when the Queen came to Northwest Territories, she translated for the Queen. And she became a movie actress and acting in the show White Dawn, which Monique just gave back to me after looking at it. And you can ask Monique about it if she liked it. And with Timothy Bottom. And if our first child would have been a girl, it would have been Nevi, because in the movie and the book, as an actress, she was called Nevi. So Alka wanted to name, or if it would have been a girl, it would be Nevi. Then now it's no.
Like you have a plan here.
Oh, but our first cat was named Nevi. Oh, that is from
Bill.
Viral.
Yeah.
Yeah, Viral phoned me this morning, even from Vancouver. He was supposed to be here. Oh yeah, I told you guys that, right? Okay.
I remember my first day at kindergarten in Valemount, feeling out of place and not knowing a lick of English. I could not communicate with any of the kids and remembering feeling isolated because of this. Naturally, it was not long before I was introduced to the ESL teacher, Alka Germain. Alka did so much more than teach ESL. She helped integrate her students in the community. It was through Alka that I met my best friends, Jimmy, Chikara, and Gregor. She taught me how to skate at her pond, and when I showed an interest in hockey, she helped me find used hockey gear and would occasionally show up to my games. I was often embarrassed by the things that made me different from others, such as my food, my customs, my traditions. It was these same things that Alka sought to learn, experience, and celebrate. Alka's annual Boxing Day potlucks were always well attended, with a selection of food from around the world. For me, these potlucks serve as a platform to celebrate what makes others different and learn about them. I'll never be able to pay Alka back for all she did for me. She was a huge part of my childhood, and I truly feel like I won the lottery by having known her. Aww.
I just wanted to add here, because I talked to Viral yesterday too. He gave me a call, and he was really, really sorry that he couldn't come. Mm-hmm. And it's really true. I mean, when we first came here, Alka really was the start of lifelong friendships that will never end. And it was because of how she taught and what she did after teaching. The canoe trips on the little pond there, or everything. And those friendships will be here forever, as long as they live, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Maria, because Jimmy was part of that group. I got a photo. Oh, that photo right here was all students with Jimmy and Guy. I don't remember some of the names even, but that was so. Thank you, Maria, for saying what Jimmy would have also said.
Yeah.
Friendships is a legacy. I like that.
Yeah.
Gilly Thomas, they were supposed to be here, but they said we'll only come at 5. And I said, Gilly, I mean, most of the stuff is before 5, and we can't make it. I said it's going to be recorded. It'll be on YouTube. It's okay. Just write me something, and you don't have to come down. She was quite happy with that. Yeah. So, dear friend of ours, we do things together, and whenever she comes to Valemount and sees her parents who are still in Jasper, she stops and sees me. Here are some thoughts about Alka. There are only a handful of people in my life who are as colorful and vibrant as was Alka Germain. I moved to Valemount 30 plus years ago as a new teacher and was wobbly on my legs for the first year. Claude and Alka were both so very welcoming, and we had a common experience in and love for Baffin Island. What blew me away about Alka was that she had little Nolan up there. Baffin is a long way away from anywhere else. It takes courage and ability to embrace adventure, and that was Claude and Alka inspiring. Enthusiasm, joy, and laughter is what comes to mind when I think of Alka. I loved her abundant and Pence' expressive love for Nolan and Claude. She added vibrancy and color to the fabric that is now Valemount. Sending a big hug and love to all you guys in Nolan, Gilly and Leslie. Okay, there's only two more.
A handwritten note.
Yeah, so this is from one about a student, and I can't pronounce Japanese, so maybe a Catherine can help me. Just more.
Who is this?
Catherine, TSU, TOMU. Sumo.
T-O-M-E. Tsutomu. Yeah. Tsutomu Michiko. Oh, Tsutomu is her last name. Michiko was her
Oh,
Michiko.
Yeah, but they reversed the order.
Yeah, one of just in the yellow.
Thank you very much for teaching us English and taking care of us when we were in Canada. We learned many things from you when we were in your class. One of the most interesting things was a life of the Inuit. We were very interested in learning how they lived and how they survived. Also, we wore your Inuit clothing, which was really fun and great experience for us. Moreover, I still remember your tone, rhythm, intonation of your voice when you read a picture book for us. It was comfortable for me to listen to. Also, I felt the dignified presence of a professor who was engaged in education for many years. With this letter, I will send pictures for you. When I see the pictures, I always feel that I missed you. I'm really looking forward to see you again. Thank you all for everything, and I'm really appreciating of your kindness. Right? Oh, this is out of order.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's right after we came back to Japan. We ordered a Balto's picture book on the internet. Oh, Balto!
Balto the doggy, she loved to teach the book.
The book we bought has fewer pictures than yours and has more letters, which is a little difficult for us. I'm trying to read it now without using a dictionary. Aww.
And okay, that's not. We're finished. Okay, so this completes the people that we have to read from. So now, like always, I hope some open mic to some of you guys who want to say a few words, who experienced memories about Alka.
Open mic night? You don't have to get up if you don't want to.
I have one, but I wanted to go.
Catherine will go
Yeah,
towards the very end, and then I'll go out.
You've been demoted. Okay.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Arne Verbeen. I'm Elka's brother. I just got a few words I want to say regarding my memories of Elka. We all know people that can worry, and Lord knows anyone that knew Elka for any time knew that she could do her fair share of that. But that's not the Elka I want to talk about today. It's what one does when the game is on, the chips are down, and one's heart is in their mouth that matters the most, and that's how I'll always remember her. Like the time she was looking after us kids when we thought it would be fun to throw rocks at each other, until one of us got one on the scalp, opening up a huge gash. Enter Elka, the former Girl Guide, with her first aid skills to staunch the bleeding until we could get him stitched up. Or perhaps Elka, the former ski patroller, who first taught me how to ski, and then later helped me get off the mountain when I damaged a leg. Or maybe when I injured myself working on the rigs and helping Carla, the caregiver, who came and collected me from Smoky Lake Hospital and my truck out of the bush as I was unable to do it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that when life got sketchy, she left the worry at the door, and Elka, the planner, the organizer, and the doer stepped to the plate. On behalf of myself, my other siblings, and our spouses that couldn't be here, I say, game well played, rest well, and Godspeed. Godspeed. Thank you all.
Sharon or Andrew? Sharon? Thank you, Sharon.
Wow, it's so nice to see all you people here.
Boxing Day nights. And Elka's awesome ability to host. Most of the talking was about earlier days, and my relationship with Elka has only been the last 30 years. The last 24 was when we built her house. And the first time I met her, she was a force to be reckoned with. Bright flaming red hair, rubber boots, cut off jeans, stomping over and telling me who she was. And it was awesome. And from then on, I realized that, you know, one of the biggest lessons she taught me was that you can be whoever you are and be authentic. And she's probably the most authentic person that I've ever met. And she was a teacher, so she taught us all how to be authentic. One of the little stories I'd like to say is I brought a friend over here. She's usually bringing friends over to my place, but I brought a friend over here. And they had little children, so we came to see the chickens. And there was a table in the chicken pen with some chairs around it. And Connie Jones said to me, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, probably Elka had a chicken hen party here." So next thing I know, out comes Elka, see what we're doing, and we're talking. And I said, "So Elka," oh, she said, "Oh yeah, my English is a second language children. We came out here and had a picnic and had some peanut butter sandwiches and entertained the chickens."
She had a pet chicken that she could pet, and it was buried with the dogs and the cats in our little cemetery.
So I don't want to speak long, but I also want to talk about how the last few years were. A lot of you have gone through this terrible Alzheimer's wretched disease that takes pieces of you bit by bit. After Elka's fall, we started off, she could play chess and she could play Scrabble and she could play Chinese checkers, and slowly that started to pass. She used to walk over to my house lots, but pretty soon she lost her way and we'd have to find her. So Claude would phone and say, "Elka's coming," and so I'd watch for her. Then we decided Tuesdays was my day with Elka. And I would, when I knew she was coming, I'd think, okay, I've got to keep her engaged. I've got to keep her mind going. I've got to keep her busy. So I'd say, okay, we're going to make gingerbread cookies or ginger cookies. And I'd mix up the dough, and when she'd come, she'd maybe only get 2 or 3 cookies done, and then she was done. That was it. Then I'd say, oh, well, adult coloring books. So I bought adult coloring books, and we're going to color today. And there was only just a little bit of coloring done, and then she was done. Then it was, oh, we'll read some books. So we'd read books. But you know, the last 3 months, what she really enjoyed was just being present. Just sitting with her and being present. Maybe holding her hand and talking about her family. Talking about her grandson, at that time her grandbaby that was going to be born. Talking about her family and when they came to Canada. And her memory was pretty good when you talk about the family. But the lesson that I want to say is that she was so bigger than life. And she said, oh, this was another thing she said to me. She said, you know what? I used to be this big. And now I'm only this big. But I think because she was this big, she had to shrink down so she could fit her footsteps into heaven. And I'm so blessed to have known her, and I'm so blessed that she left when she did, because she really didn't have to go much further. You know, when you go to that point of sitting in a hospital bed strapped into a chair or something. So I think the good Lord took her at the right time, and I know that she's been a blessing to every one of you. And so, thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Money? No? Thank you. Money. Good.
I was given the privilege of spending time with Alka this summer, a few afternoons a week. And at that point, it wasn't about keeping her busy or engaging her. It was about being present. And I would share my struggles, and she would respond with, "Oh, that's hard," or like there were times where she was really, really there. She was very courageous. Even as she understood she couldn't do what she used to do, she was very courageous and accepting. You could see some of what drove her spirit. She was often wanting to go find Claude wherever he was, with the horses or chopping wood, and always wanting to see where he was. And at one point she says, "I'd give anything to have a good relationship with my husband." And I know she worked at that. She really loved Claude. And it was really beautiful to see Claude's love for Alka, and his courage, and his patience, and his willingness to tease and to entertain and to keep her safe. I am just in awe of the way they lived their love for each other. And I'm grateful to have been part of that last little bit.
Thank you, Monique. Monique was 3 hours, 3 times a week, and really helped me in saying, "No, Alka, you're not stupid. You can still do something. You don't have to go yet. You can still listen to people read. We can talk to Nolan each day about the baby. There's still a meaning. There's still a reason to keep going." And what kept her going each day is seeing the baby, and I promised her we'd go to see Nolan when the baby was born. And I really thought she would make it, but the last week and a half when she went down fast. So, okay. Anyone else?
Is it okay if I don't go up there and
Yes.
anticipate?
Jan, I didn't forget.
That's okay.
You were hiding away here.
So I have a lot of memories of Alka. Our whole family does. And I don't want to, I could talk for 2 hours on some of the fun, extraordinary things that we did with her. So I'll just speak to a couple. Nolan was involved in speed skating, as were our children during elementary and high school, I guess. And I think her brother spoke about her worrying habits. And one time we were going to Fort St. John. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
And Nolan and Claude and Alka were not able to come. So Alka entrusted her son with me.
Wow.
And do you remember that trip, Nolan? I took kids, we filled up the Suburban and went many times, and I never thought about it. That's just what I did. But Alka started phoning me to see if I had good winter tires on the Suburban, and if I knew how to change a tire, and did I carry chains, and was the washer fluid going to be filled up, and did I have extra washer fluid, and did I have a winter car kit that included a candle and waterproof matches, chocolate bars, and I'm sorry, I'm having trouble standing. A flashlight. You can imagine. And I assured her every time that she called and that I saw her she did come to the house a few times, and that I carried all of that stuff, and I felt, you know, we traveled a lot in the winter, and my husband looked after the vehicle really well, and we were good to go, and Nolan would be fine. And then it became, she was concerned about Nolan's behavior. How old were you? An early teen? I don't remember.
14, 15.
Yeah, but he liked to wear no socks in his skates, so I should be concerned about and watch for possible frostbite. and Nolan might not eat when he needed to, and he needed to eat because he's doing this physical activity. And not only that, I should make sure that he had his bran in the morning.
Yeah, he had intestine problems.
And I remember thinking, wow, I've never thought about taking anyone's children before, but I'm not sure if I can do this. Anyway, the final part of that before we left is she asked if we carried extra winter clothing and winter boots, and I assured her that all of my children would have their ski clothes and ski suits and winter boots and extra toots and extra mitts if anything should go sideways. We were prepared. I had blankets, sleeping bags, etc. So when I met her at the school, she showed up and she backed the truck up. She pulled out this huge box with boots for all of my family. And toots, extra toots. There were toots there for the whole school, I think. I'm going to have to sit down.
Sit, Jack, please.
Yeah. And
We can hear you.
so I just wanted to share that we did get off, and Nolan was fine. He didn't have frostbite, and I did go down to the basement when it was getting time to go to the rink and make sure that he'd had a BM before we left. Just so that I could tell her that I had done that.
Because I was about to ask you.
I knew she was going to ask. It was a good trip. I don't know how much. And another thing I wanted to share was, some of you will know that I homeschool my children. And there wasn't always, it was met with a bit of concern. Did I know what I was doing, and were these kids going to be all right? But Alka was such a support for me. She would pop over with her red truck and the white canopy. Is it a Ford? I don't remember. Anyway, and she would listen to the kids read to her and share what they were working on, their projects or whatever it was. And she would always have some more information and would often bring another book or send a movie or tell us a story that related to what they were doing. And it was very enjoyable, and I really appreciated her support.
Did you take Nolan for 1 day a week for homeschooling?
Nolan would
7?
come and
Oh,
do
yeah.
homeschooling
Okay,
with
so
us.
yeah, so Nolan, every day of the week she had 5 different people that Nolan would not have to stay at home being bored. She had different people, parents, or like Jan, and I don't know. Do you remember that one?
But I really appreciated that. She was just, and my kids really appreciated it too, because when they saw her vehicle winding its way up our driveway, I could see little grins happening, because they knew that once they were done sharing their present work with them, they had the rest of the day off. Alka and I would have tea and snacks and visit, and I don't know, Haley, are you going to share your?
Oh,
Or do you want me to?
no, that's okay. Alka was our first introduction to the world of craft dinner.
That's funny.
We ever ate in our house, and one summer we spent a week at Alka Enclosed because Mom was at basketball camp with Robin, and I think we had craft dinner hot dogs every day of the week.
How about wieners and craft
yeah.
dinner? Yeah.
And Nutella, which she told us was rat
Oh,
poison.
Nutella.
Once we were brave enough to try it, we were hooked.
And they also remember, Alka would take them out to the rhubarb patch and they'd pick rhubarb, and then she would make them rhubarb puddings, which they begged me to make because I tended to use whole wheat flour and not a lot of sugar, etc. And Alka had fake puddings and fake custards and lots of sugar and lots of rhubarb, and made them make these puddings, and they had a blast. So thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. No, the big guy.
I'll try. Extraordinary is a word that I've heard how many times today. I remember all the times that we kind of stayed over here. Haley kind of said it. Beans and weens, hot dogs, fabulous. Mom would go off. We're from a big family, 6 kids. Anytime Mom had another kid, we'd come over here. It's kind of awesome. Look forward to that mac and cheese. Wow. Mom never makes that. It was deadly. But that was back kind of when they lived in the old trailer. Some of the favorite memories there was they make blankets out of jean pockets. Wow. That was the best comfortable thing ever. But extraordinary, so I went through the ESL program with Alka too. And for everybody else out there, you guys might not have learned as much as we did. Yeah, you guys are all from Canada or other places. Did you know that there's Sasquatch? Sasquatch exists. So she actually taught us way more than just ESL. She'd take out her different animal books, and every one of those books had an extra added page, the Sasquatch. I'm not gonna lie. So I've been looking for Sasquatch for a long time, and in grade 10, we did a whole bunch of different movies, videos, that kind of stuff. And we actually, in one of ours, we kind of built a second version of a book that Mr. Logan had us read. And part of that, we ended up running out of time, so we figured we better make a good video, and somehow Sasquatch came into there. So we built the Sasquatch costume, and that developed into, for all these years, we wanted to buy a Sasquatch costume and walk across the yard until I figured out that Alka has guns too. That was our so for Alka, yeah, I'll still be looking for Sasquatch.